Also, just so you know, always these calls are going to be recorded. And we have our next call is going to be Liz McCutcheon. She lives in Boston area, and she's going to be doing a call on breath work and calming stress through breath work. It's going to be very good. It's going to be in April. Can't remember the date off the top of my head, but you'll see it in the events. And also, we're adding to our the website an events calendar because the great news is we need one because we have so many events coming up. Aside from this call, we have our monthly walk, which that led by Suzanne at the Davis Arboretum. One of our other coach mentors, Alyssa, is going to be leading a tour through the farmers market in Elk Grove. And then, like I said, we have the breathwork call coming up. So a lot of really exciting things happening. So you'll always get a text message and an email, but we will also be, like I said, adding in the events calendar so you can look ahead and know what's happening and get it marked on your calendars. So we're about almost 5 minutes in. I'm going to go ahead and get started talking about sleep. And I'm just going to begin by saying, for me, sleep is a challenge. And so I've done a lot of my own research on sleep and trying to find it. So hopefully, that'll be some semi helpful. Let me see. I'm going to go and just make one quick little change so we can see the actual slideshow. Yep. Okay. View slideshow. Okay. All right. And also, if you have a question along the way, please do not hesitate to ask because if you're anything like me, you will forget by the time it's the Q&A. And I don't want to miss any questions because that's where the magic really happens. So if you come up with a question at all, please you can do the little raise your hand, um, or you can unmute and ask away. All right. So talking about finding sleep. Whoops, my screen share went away. Sorry about that. Get it back. Okay. Um, One thing to think about, particularly, so I will be talking not only to people that are going through the cancer journey, but also the people that support them, because it really actually does. The sleep issue impacts both because you care about the person that you love, and so often our stresses and concerns are have impact on our sleep. And then, of course, the people that are going through cancer, there's for very obvious reasons, cancer, it has a big impact. Um, so one thing that to think about, sorry, I is that you're not broken. It's not like, oh my gosh, what is this the new me? I used to be able to sleep so well. These are some things that I hear a lot. Sleep struggles during cancer are so incredibly common, and often it feels like, you wake up after a very disrupted night of sleep and feel like you did something wrong. I didn't sleep well. And then there's the concerns about, oh my gosh, sleep is so important to, making it through this. So the head goes into a lot of turmoil. So we'll talk about that a fair bit. But one thing I personally do when I wake up, and I do many times throughout the night, is just do the breath work. So just an example, we'll just do this 3 times, but to inhale for 4 and then exhale for 6. And two things that happen for me is that it gets my mind off of all the things that pop into my head because then I'm focusing on counting, but it also I will say breath work is it's pretty unbelievable at what it can do for just calming the mind and the body, especially when you're feeling stress. If I'm going to go and when I'm going to speak publicly, that's one of the things that I do. I close my eyes, I visualize a place that I love to be, and then I do the inhale for 4 and exhale for 6. So let's just do that together 3 times. So starting with a big and please do it. Big inhale for 4 counts. So and then exhale for 6. Good. Inhale for 4, exhale for 6. One more. Inhale, exhale. Great. So, why does sleep get disrupted during cancer? That's going to be one of the things we'll talk about. How do we support our bodies for better rest? Ways that we can quiet that racing mind, like I've always talked about. And then we'll talk about the real tools for the hardest night. So we're going to kind of go through the why at the beginning, and then the ways that we can hopefully change that pattern of ours. Um, so there are physical factors, and then there are emotional and mental factors. I mean, the physical stuff, when we're not comfortable or in pain, one turn doesn't feel good post surgery. Somebody that's had a mastectomy or any type of tumor removal, there's going to be discomfort. Cancer can be painful. That is really normal. Nausea, with people that are going through chemo, the treatment, the chemo treatment side effects are, and especially when you're on steroids, because that does a lot to us mentally. Chemo can make us extremely nauseous and uncomfortable. Hormonal changes, often with breast cancer comes hysterectomy, fatigue. So there's a big difference. Our last call was about fatigue, and there is a big difference from between fatigue and being tired. And so honestly, being very fatigued, it does disrupt that sleep-wake cycle. Night sweats, having to get up to go to the bathroom, men that are going through like a prostatectomy, the incontinence that comes with that, those are all physical factors that are real. Um, Obviously, anxiety, going into more of the emotional and mental anxiety, that's probably the number one contributor to lack of sleep. Just the uncertainty, what does this mean? And the you go to sleep, and that's the quiet time of the day, right? So during the day, we've got distractions and things happening. And then when we get down, we lay our head on the pillow, and then suddenly all of the thoughts come in. Um, and they're kind of racing thoughts, and they're the things, and then suddenly the heart rate gets up and all of the things start to happen, including like grief. Like I used to be able to sleep well, like I said before, or there's so many changes that are happening to my body. Grief is real, and that comes in again. The quietness allows that grief to come in. The loss of our routine. Some people aren't able to get to work every day and do their normal routine, do their exercise that they used to do that allowed them to sleep better. Um, and just like, the daily appointments, the constant need for medical help throughout this journey. There's a lot of processing that happens after these appointments that happen. And then just the worry, general worry keeps our nervous system on high alert. Like we're meant, you go back to the early days, and we were supposed to stay awake to just in case we were going to be hunted. And so that is part of our nature that it's hard to shut off. So again, very normal. There's a quote that sleep disruption is a normal response to an abnormal situation. And so it's your body and your mind just trying to figure out, how do I cope with something that's so extraordinary? So, it's not a mess. It's again, I want to go back to, you're not failing at sleep, you're surviving. Which goes back to, like I said, this is our natural instinctual response, is to get on high alert and try to figure out how to fix, how to be better, do better. And that's where it's really important to give yourself grace and just do the best you can. So kind of talking about the foundation of supporting your body for sleep. So just these general things. Many of you have heard these over and over again. I am a big one on, the repetition is really important. The more you hear something, the more it sinks in. So I'm going to bring it back into things that many of you may have already heard. Um, a wind down routine. And so this doesn't have to happen 2 hours before you go to bed. Even 10 minutes before is enough. So you start by dimming the lights. So that tells the brain, okay, it's getting dark. So if you're downstairs and doing dishes, have the lights a little bit dimmer. If you're getting ready for bed, try to dim the light. Try to not have all the bright lights on. If possible, for many reasons, turn off all screens, including this one. Turn them all off, put them away 30 minutes before you go to bed. And if that 30 minutes is just your nighttime routine of getting ready for bed, or it's meditation, which is amazing, or doing your breath work, or reading a book, maybe, Kindles now have the screen that doesn't keep your mind awake, but all of those are great ways to kind of get your wind down routine started. Another one, honestly, is like a gentle stretching. And so when you're going into your stretch, you take a deep breath in and you exhale and deepen the stretch. The stretching can happen in your bed. In fact, we have some videos on gentle stretching right before bed, so you can always put one of those on. Um, the other thing is consistency. I know, we can't always be consistent, but if you can get on a nighttime routine, like goal is to be in bed by whatever your number is, 9, 10, 11, whatever time it is that you like, try to get that, have that become your every night routine. And even if another thing is, and I don't have this part in there, a little less so if you're right in the middle of treatment, but if you're not in the middle of treatment and you're doing well, or you're the care partner, if your normal wake up time is 6 a.m. and you go to bed late because whatever something came up, still a good idea if you can to get up around the same time. And then if you need to, maybe take a little cat nap during the day to kind of get yourself on course. But it's really good to keep a sleep routine the same. As far as environment goes, really, really important to have a cool room, particularly if you're having night sweats, which is tough. I know, because then you get really hot, throw off the covers, and then all of a sudden you've got this cold exterior, external temperature around you. So then you put the covers back on. But either way, keeping the room temperature as cold as you can, unless you're having chills. If you're in the middle of treatment, then that one can kind of wait. Um, Blackout curtains for those of you that are really, really struggling, or just like a really nice, comfortable eye mask is a great way to tell the body, it is dark, it's time to go to sleep. If you are a light sleeper, having a nice little white noise machine or earplugs, if you've got a partner that snores, some sort of a calming music that just plays, that's this nice and soft background noise, can be really good. And believe it or not, like nice soft pillow, the right kind of pillow, even like the body pillows that you can use, any of those are really, really helpful. So just creating an environment that tells your mind and your body that it's time. It's time for to go into rest. Um, so one thing that can happen too is that sometimes we work against it. Like we're so hell bent on, I've got to get to sleep, I've got to go to bed, that we actually end up working against instead of with our body. So things to think about, particularly if you're in the middle of treatment, nothing wrong with naps. They can be very restorative, especially when you have fatigue. That said, for some people, myself included, a nap could completely wreck my night. If I was to sleep for 40 minutes during the day, I would not be able to fall asleep that night. So know yourself. If you are a napper and it works for you and you're very fatigued, do it. If you're in the middle of treatment and the chemo you're on or the radiation that you're doing is making you really tired, take your nap. It's restorative. So think in those terms. It's different. For those that are here as care partners, it's a little different than those that are in the middle of the journey. When you're in the middle of the journey, if your body says, I need to sleep, allow it. Um, Another thing to think about is like I've been kind of touching on that is that shifting the I have to sleep. I have to sleep. If I don't sleep, my body's not going to rest. If my body doesn't rest, it's not going to be able to fight this disease. And then our brain goes here, and then before you know it, you're so worked up about not being able to sleep that you're making it impossible for you to sleep. So instead, to just lie still, keep your eyes closed. I remember one time I have mentioned, I will mention it again. I have struggled with sleep my entire life, even as a child. And I remember a friend of mine saying, actually, even if you lay in bed with your eyes closed, it's not exactly the same as getting sleep, but it's almost the same. And so just know that if you lie still and close your eyes and maybe even just think about breathing and counting as you breathe, it still counts as recovery. That was really, really big for me because I was definitely one that would start to, get the nervousness of what does tomorrow bring. It's I've been staring every time I wake up, I look or wake up, move, look at the clock, look at the clock, the anxiety would continue. And so instead, I don't look at the clock. I keep my eyes closed. I do my breath work. Um, but and again, this last bullet to avoid napping after 3 if possible. Um, I would say even those of you that are really fatigued and in the middle of treatment, if possible, try and not do the 3 p.m. like and maybe replace that need for a nap with a very gentle walk. Because that might help, which kind of goes into the gentle movement thing. A short little gentle walk actually can regulate your sleep wake cycle. I mentioned before doing kind of a gentle stretching or like a very, very low intensity yoga class that takes that physical tension that we're feeling sometimes and gets rid of it. And nothing intense. I wouldn't suggest, going and doing a workout that gets your heart rate up because that tells your body, oh, it's time to be awake and do things. Instead, we want to just make it really gentle. But, we all could benefit from stretching. Flexibility is a component of fitness. It's a really important component of fitness. So, not only are you doing something good for your sleep cycle, but you're doing something really good for your body. So, just listen, any kind of movement, it does help. So calming the mind at night. This I think can be a game changer too. So the brain dump. One thing that I feel like can be one of the most helpful things is keeping a notebook, a journal, whatever it is, next to your bed. And I'm going to add a little to this, but when you lay down, just put down everything that is in your head, everything, write it down. Take it from here and put it on that piece of paper. Take it out of here, put it on here. And just remind yourself, I'm not going to worry about this now. Tomorrow's a new day. I'll handle it tomorrow. Whatever it is, I've got treatment tomorrow. I've got to deal with that doctor's appointment. I forgot I didn't do the A or the B. My taxes are coming. Whatever it is, write it down and then I'm going to add one more thing. Write down one thing that you're grateful for, or one thing that made you happy that day. It could be, that you got to see some flowers blooming, or you had the opportunity to sit in the sun for a few minutes because we finally see sun. Whatever it is, have that last thing that you, so you put all your worries down and then have the last thing you write is something that brings you joy. Um, and then the other thing to do is to change your goal from I've got to get to sleep, I've got to get to sleep. Last night I didn't get any sleep last night. I got to sleep to just, you know what? I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to do some deep breathing. I'm going to let my body be still and I will rest. And so it doesn't become this like I must sleep. And then when we can't sleep, there's this kind of, I'm failing, I can't sleep, I'm getting more anxiety. You just get rid of that. Remove any pressure of I'm a big one too. Like I made this goal. I want to be able to sleep, set amount of hours every night. And I made this goal and I want to do it. And then if I don't hit it, then just the fact that if I get to bed on time, even if I don't fall asleep for an hour and a half, I'm still resting my body. My organs are resting. My brain is resting because I'm just doing deep breathing. So know that you're still benefiting your body. Take the I have to get to sleep out of the equation. Honestly, it really helps. Um, we already did the breathing, so I think that we can kind of skip over this so that we have more time for Q&A. Um, I really personally, I like the in for 4, out for 6. Box breathing is a really big one, and that's a different one. For me at night, it doesn't work as well because it's I like to just have the flow, but for many, probably most, box breathing is what's best for like the anxiety and racing thoughts and stuff. And a lot of it too is that because you're having to do like so you inhale, you count to 4, you get your inhale right, hold it, count to 4, exhale, count to 4, hold, and then go back, right? So you're doing this box. And I think a lot of it, quite honestly, the breathing is very, very important. But our brain is thinking about these 4 breaths. And am I on the inhale and then the hold and the exhale and the hold? Where am I in my box? That you start to just focus on the breath work and the breathing, and the all the other thoughts become smaller because you've got this task at hand that you're trying to do, the breathing. Both are good. Try them out. I'll say this, like if you're 4-6 breathing, if you're like, it's not really working, go to the box breathing. Remember, the box is inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. So you breathe out, and then you count to 4. Okay. So breathing is a really, 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 really good way to calm. And you're going to learn more about that in our breathwork call. So real life strategies. So what do we do when all of these things that I just suggested don't work? Um, there's a big one, and this can be a hard one because our brain keeps saying, stick with it, try to get to sleep. If you're awake for 20, 30 minutes, just wide awake, like you're not even feeling dozy, do something low stimulation, but leave where you are. Leave that space. If it means going into whatever different room and sitting, maybe sitting up quietly and closing your eyes, or putting on there's tons of sleep tools on our devices, all kinds of different apps for sleep. But kind of getting yourself out of the environment and then kind of stay there until you start to feel a little drowsy and then start over again, because that cycle of laying in bed for hours at a time can be destructive and not helpful. Like I said, using any of the tools that we have really at our fingertips. There's so many apps. There's Calm, Insight Timer, and they can be set, to stop after 60 minutes. YouTube has a lot of sleep meditations. We have sleep meditations on our site. And most of them have the free option. So you don't have to pay. You do not have to pay for a membership. They always bring you to the paid membership. You can decline and still use the app. I said it before, and I think it's really one of the most critical things we can do is avoid bright screens. It tells your brain it's daytime. It doesn't get you prepared for, okay, like our, like I said, back in early times, the sun went down, we went to sleep. The sun went up, we woke up. So we want our brain to be on that cycle. So having a dim light if you're reading, or just an audio book, or like I said, gentle music, and above all, and I know I keep going into the avoid screen thing, really, really, really avoid scrolling. Um, Honestly, in my opinion, avoid scrolling in general. Doom scrolling is a real thing. It often doesn't bring us joy. Um, I would just avoid it. And then the other thing to think about is like to reframe your night. Just because last night was really, really rough, it doesn't mean that the next day, or if we're in the middle of a hard night, I know that I'll often be like, "Oh, great, I'm going to be so tired tomorrow. I've got this I have to do," and then again we go into that, gets us into that spiral. But even every hour of rest you get, if even if it's only three, it's still 3 hours. It still helps your body recover. It's still enough. And I think it's really, really important to allow that. I got as much sleep as I could. I did the best I could, and that was enough. Um, your sleep isn't always going to be perfect. And it's really, really important to recognize that, what those of you that are going in the cancer journey, or have gotten through the cancer journey, or are just recently entering the cancer journey, know that you're doing incredible work for your body. Everything you're doing, you showed up here today, or you're watching it later today, or whenever you're watching it, you're doing everything you can, and that's something to really keep here. And those of you that are here as care partners, same thing. Your sleep isn't always going to be perfect. It's just not. I mean, it's rare that you find somebody that's like, I just sleep perfectly all the time. But every little tiny improvement helps, and it adds up over time. Like there's a thing like sleep debt. And so the less sleep debt you have, the better, because then your body has this ability to pull from the times that you have good nights of sleep, or that you get a good, nice little cat nap in. Um, if you're, like I said, if you're going through the cancer journey right now, your body is working hard to fend off the cancer and to heal. And so the rest is supporting that work. But it's not a linear thing necessarily, right? I mean, we do, we do the best we can in the situation we're in, and then we just have to be kind to ourselves. When we're not, when if we're having one of those days. And then I think just to think to yourself, like, where, if I couldn't get sleep, if the sleep is just not happening for me, if I'm really just continuously struggling night after night, for one thing, nothing wrong with reaching out to your medical team, whether it's palliative care docs are really, really great at helping you figure out sleep. There's like sleepy time teas and things like that. There are other methods out there. I don't really cover those things because you never know, what your medical team would want you to have. So I would suggest in those situations, if it's just night after night after night and you're really struggling, reach out to your care team. And they're going to be able to give you some suggestions if it gets to be chronic. We don't want chronic. Um, but to kind of think of ways that you can find some rest. If it's not sleep, there are other ways, like I said, whether it's just doing your breath work, if it's doing some stretching, doing some light yoga, um, finding what works best for you. And it will come, it will happen. Um, just kind of like going back through what we talked about, and I know I talk really fast. And again, anytime anybody wants to jump in, please do. But just to kind of these kind of key takeaways. We'll talk about, and then think about any questions you have. And I will say this, I promise you, if you even are have a question, you're like, it doesn't really pertain to this, that doesn't matter. If you have a question, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to watch this. And so if you have a question, and you don't want to say it, you can put it in the chat and I'll just read it. Um, Most likely there's going to be many, many, many others that are going to have that same question, so it's helpful. It doesn't have to be about sleep, it can be about anything. But our kind of final takeaways from everything we've just been talking about. Um, Having a sleep challenge during cancer are normal for you, for your care partner, for the people that love you, everyone. It's just your body and your mind. They're responding to um, a major change in your life, and so to not be able to sleep is it's not surprising. Um, Esther, please feel free to jump in.
Hi, Jen.
Hi,
Nice hearing you.
it's good to hear your voice.
Uh, Erin and I say hi.
Hi, Erin.
She texted me earlier, and so she said, just say hi to Jen.
Oh, thank you.
Um, so the journal, like the keeping the journal to the side of the bed, to me, that has helped a lot. Even after just treatment, the for me it was more like the hormones and the hot flashes waking me up and not being able to get back to sleep. Either reading a little bit or journaling has helped me a whole lot. Like you said, getting all those thoughts out of your head and just putting it on paper, and it does help. I haven't watched, and I will go back to the website and watch the gentle movements before bed. That is a good one. So
Oh,
thank
good.
you. Yeah. So yeah, there's always something. I will try those, and I will get back to you on the gentle movements before bedtime.
I love it. And thank you for kind of giving that feedback from you having that perspective of
Yeah.
having the journal. That helps people because
Yes,
hear that.
yes, for sure. Yeah. Sometimes we just lay there and we try breathing or just closing our eyes, but our minds just keep on going. And for me, I'm a person that it's hard for me to shut my mind off. And the journal to me has been very, very helpful. Um, just getting it out of your head
Yes.
in a way, just kind of you validate those thoughts and then they're like gone.
Out of here and onto there.
Yes, yeah. So thank you so much. I will try the gentle movements before bed, and I will get back to you.
Amazing. And
Thank
actually,
you.
thank you, Esther. And kind of on Esther's note, I want to kind of add on to what she was saying with the journal. The other thing, and I didn't bring this up, so I'm really glad that Esther said that, is having that journal right next to you. The That's the other thing is a thought pops like, I don't know about any of you, but I might wake up at 3 in the morning and be like, oh my gosh, I forgot I have to whatever it is. That's also a place to take it from here. Even if it's 3 in the morning, write it quickly into the journal. Hopefully can you can have like a blue, like they have, um the lights that are the red lights that are kind of the low dim, and write it down, and then you can say to yourself, now it's there, I'll take care of it tomorrow. So that was, I'm really glad that she you brought that point up, Esther, about the journal, because I'd left that part out. um, and just to kind of finish up on the like the takeaways, and I really would love to hear any questions or thoughts people have. But just remembering like what we talked about is like to focus on just focused on rest. If we can take it away from I must fall asleep and put it more to I'm going to give my body rest, and even if it means me just closing my eyes here when I should be sleeping, I'm still doing something good for my body. I think that's a really, really important one. And then just remember to try and, as much as you can. And again, this is not meant to be like you must do this, but try to have that wind down routine. And at 10 minutes before is enough time. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I had set 10 o'clock as my bedtime. It's already 9:55. I haven't done any of those things. That doesn't matter. It can be 5 to 10 minutes before and just having that wind down routine. And I tell you that, these small little consistent habits, they really do create a change. It's those small changes that really make the biggest difference. Um, and just, like I kind of reiterating what Esther said, like the breathing, the brain dump, getting out of bed after 20, 30 minutes, if it's just like I'm not going to fall asleep. I've rested and I feel good about that. But I clearly am not going to fall asleep. Just to just kind of walk away from that environment. And most importantly, remember that you have us. You guys, you have your coach mentors. They get it. They've probably been through it, and they're there to help you. So reach out to us. That's what community is, a really, really important pillar for Cancer Champions. So know that we're here. And I'm really, those of you that were able to jump on this call and be a part of it, I'm really happy that you could. People will be able to watch this later, so that's great. Our events, but use your support system. We want to be there for you. So just know that we're here. And I would love to hear from any of you. If anybody's got, and what Esther did, can you give feedback, like something that works for you? Because I certainly very well could have missed things that would be really good ideas. We have a quiet. Oh, wait, let me check my chat. Do we have anybody in the chat? We also have the chat. You're welcome to add to that. Um, but if nobody else has anything else to share, I will let you all go. I'm really happy that you joined us. And a couple little announcements. We have the Lucky Walk Run this Saturday, and there's going to be a group of people dressed up as superfoods, and we're going to be walking. So if you want to walk with us in the Lucky Run, reach out to me. We have a special code for a discount. We will have, our monthly walk in the Arboretum. Like I said at the beginning of the call, we're going to have our coach Alyssa is going to do a tour of a farmer's market in Elk Grove. We've got a breathwork call coming up. We have all kinds of exciting things. And if you all have an idea, this would be something that would be really helpful for me. Reach out and let me know, and we will find an expert and do a call on it, because the more that we can support you, the better. So if nobody else has anything else, then I will let you all go and hope you have a fabulous rest of your day.